Massive changes in 40k with points and balanced data slate, it's hard to keep up. Then mix in the new secondaries for factions and we're all left wondering, which are the biggest winners and losers? There's loads of long videos about all this and I'm going to summarise in under 5 minutes. Starting off with the biggest losers. Not a massive shock, we've got the Tyranids, and a bit like AdMech, they've received big points and rules hit from the nerf bat. Points have gone up across the board, targeting all the competitive units in a big way. Picking some of the key ones, the Harpy's gone up by 21%, Warriors by 20%, and the Maleceptor almost 30%. Now for the rules changes. If you have a Hive Tyrant, it has to be a Warlord, and most people will be taking one. A small nerf, but there's lots of other good options that you probably would have taken as your Warlord. Synaptic imperatives now only work when the Warlord is on the battlefield. These are some great abilities that you don't want to do without, so it changes the Hive Tyrant from being a killing machine to something you have to nurse. I think we'll be seeing fewer of the winged melee ones, which is my personal favourite. Hive Fleet adaptations can no longer be tailored for each army. Instead, you're picking one at the list building stage. This really removes the fun flavour from the army that most Tyranid players have come to love. It was a powerful mechanic, but not the end of the world. A quick mention from the Nephilim secondaries, which are another nerf for the Nids, as they're pretty terrible. They're still a strong army, most existing lists will have gone up by at least 10% cost, but to be honest they needed something because they're head and shoulders above everyone else. And next for the biggest lose, we've got the Harlequins. After repeated attempts to nerf them, they've finally been given a big enough hit that'll drop them down from top table to probably middle tier. Pretty few points changes, but had hard nerfs in the rules. Look of the Laughing God has been changed completely. The outcome is changing a probably guaranteed 4 rerolls per turn to now 2 or maybe none. Now only a gamble part remains. People will go for 2 or 3 dice, may end up with none. The 2 strongest Saithas have seen big nerfs. Light's ability to only be hit on a 4+ has been changed to over 18 inches rather than 12. This seems quite easy to get within now. Dark Saithas has seen the biggest change. Instead of fight on death, you deal mortal wounds instead. It's a dramatic reduction to the impact to armies, as this was such an amazing ability to have. Before jumping to the biggest winners, I think it's worth having a few honourable mentions for factions. Sisters have had a good points boost, and coupled with previous data slate changes, they're going to be a strong army overall. Death Guard have massive points drops all over. We'll see them doing much better from now on. Orcs are good points cuts to infantry, but the biggest win for them is that War now comes with a invul save, and this is for the entire army. In the first stage, you get a 5+ invuln, which is super strong. In the second stage, it's a 6+, which is reasonable. AdMech have had previous nerfs lifted, which they really needed. They're still lower middle tier at best, they probably needed more points drops. Ajuani have taken a hit but remain still strong. The changes will actually make playing them more fun, as you'll see more interaction between the armies rather than just jumping in, shooting and then hiding again. GW seem to have forgotten about demons and genestealer cults. I don't know what they did to annoy them. Now for the biggest winners. In second, we have the Guard. Already enjoying balanced data buffs, well they've just had more, and I think moved solidly into middle tier. This is amazing for a faction that not so long ago were actually propping up the bottom. Army of Contempt has been extended to Guard vehicles, so they'll now all ignore a pip of AP. 2+ save Lehman Russes are laughing. About time for Baneblades to get their 2+ save as well. They've also got much cheaper, with the sponsons being dramatically reduced in price. Scions have been buffed with the Hammer of the Emperor. You get some free war gear and of course auto wounding 6s. This on hotshot lasguns with their higher AP is going to be devastating. Consider running with a Daka Torix Prime now. Some other things of note though, Bullgryns dropped in price and are pretty playable. Heavy weapon team lasguns are the same price as mortars. Even though hunter killer missiles tend to do nothing, they are now often free to include everywhere. Overall, Lehman Russes and tank commanders are the biggest winners. Sponsons are now more viable again. And the new Nephilim secondaries are really nice for them as well. So all in all, very good army. And the absolute winner, I think everyone guessed, one of the best armies in the game now, the Necrons, and here's why. Points decrease across the board and loads of free war gear. Big change to command protocols, which to be honest were really poor before anyway. Any character now unlocks them rather than having to be a noble. They work on units rather than auras, so are much more practical in game. And you can select one protocol to be active for the entire game. This is super strong, and it means you have 2 active per turn. Then in an extension to units getting core, all vehicles are now core. Really powerful just for all the existing abilities that can now affect them. Like my will be done for +1 to hit. The biggest news though is how the Silent King is now core. He can be buffed, his super buffing can buff vehicles, and importantly he buffs himself. An absolute powerhouse on the table, reroll ranged hits, reroll melee wounds, +1 to move and advance, +1 to hit. He's difficult to kill, the Technomancer can now bring back one of his menhirs, and since you can only wound the king when the menhirs are gone, that's super powerful. Illuminar Zeref comes good again because he's got more to buff, including the Silent King himself. Imagine making the king toughness 8. So I think we'll see every top Necron list with the Silent King now. But it doesn't end there, they've even aced Nephilim. Coming away with what could be the best secondaries in the game at the moment. A complete shake up to the meta, really excited. Let me know what you think and see you again soon. Bye.